Now, to prevent the potential increase in local transmissions and the risk of overwhelming public healthcare systems and negative impact on people's livelihood, the CCSA's meeting yesterday, we had a general CCSA meeting yesterday, and that meeting decided to temporarily suspend or pause the test-and-go scheme, or the quarantine exemption scheme, as we all know it, with new rules applied to all Thailand Pass applicants. So we'll have an infographic from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs coming up on screen for you, right there. Okay. If we can expand and increase that a bit for better viewing. So given the choice, no one would want to revise regulations that would hinder economic recovery of local industries, of course, or inconvenience travelers who plan to reunite with their families and friends in Thailand. These revised measures are about adapting quickly. They are about adapting quick enough to the ever-evolving pandemic situation before Omicron necessitates the return to more stringent disease control measures as we have experienced before. So hence, to contain the spread of this virus further, the Thailand Pass system is now closed, paused for all new Test&GO and the Sandbox applications, except for Phuket Sandbox. This has started from 0.00 hours of today, which was last night, since 12 midnight last night. So 0.00 hours of today until further notice. Now, these new measures apply for all applicants to the Thailand Pass as follows. Number one, applicants who have received their Thailand Pass QR Code can enter Thailand under the scheme they have registered in. This includes approximately 200,000 applicants. Number two, applicants who have registered but have not received the QR code must wait for their Thailand Pass to be considered and approved. Once approved, they can enter Thailand under the scheme they have registered in. Number three, new applicants will not be able to register for Test&GO and Sandbox scheme, except for the Phuket Sandbox. Thailand Pass will only accept new applicants seeking to enter Thailand under the Alternative Quarantine or AQ or Phuket Sandbox only. And number four, passengers who will arrive in Thailand under Test&GO and Sandbox scheme must undergo their second COVID-19 test using the RT-PCR technique, not the ATK self-test, at government-designated facilities at no additional cost. Now, after the pause of the Thailand Pass since last night, the CCSA will review this measure again on Tuesday, the 4th of January 2021. So this pause is until at least the 4th of January 2022. And in the meantime, the CCSA continues to monitor the number of incoming travelers and the trends in the number of imported cases. Today, for example, we have a number here, 10,787 people will be entering Thailand via the Suvarnabhumi International Airport. Over 10,000 people coming in today, and 2,546 people entering Thailand via Phuket. So all these incoming travelers will have to undergo the disease control measures and to monitor their symptoms. Now, we had a CCSA meeting this morning as well. I'd like to recap that for you. As usual, the meeting this morning reviewed the global situation and found that the number of cases remains stable, although an increase in some regions, namely in Europe and the United States. Now in Thailand, the number of new cases is fortunately on a downward trend in Thailand in general, although some provinces of concern are still being closely monitored. And these provinces include Chonburi, Bangkok, Nakhon Si Thammarat, Samut Prakan, Khon Kaen, and Tak provinces. The number of patients with severe symptoms is also very important. We highlight that almost every time that we make this briefing. The number of patients with severe symptoms or on ventilators is also on a downward trend, while the number of daily fatalities remain stable in the 20s and 30s. If you recall, last month the numbers were higher than this. And most fatalities remain to be those in the elderly group, the elderly population, those with underlying health conditions and those who are unvaccinated. So in Thailand, local transmissions continue to be found within the communities, families, gatherings, religious ceremonies, merit-making ceremonies, funerals, and parties. So clusters are still found in these risk venues, including in markets, in migrant worker camps, schools, factories, restaurants. So the CCSA has tasked relevant agencies to continue with its stringent, rigid monitoring of the situation. The situation overseas, as well as incoming travelers, the testing of the various variants, testing of high risk, close contact, and to continue with the proactive, targeted testing in areas with local transmissions. So this continues. The CCSA also continues to encourage everyone to follow the basic healthcare precautions to support the policy on universal prevention, and for all agencies in every province to work in tandem to promote COVID-19 free settings and to detect and isolate cases as soon as possible. Now all this reminder, we talk about this every time we have this briefing. It's becoming much more relevant this week and next week and in the month ahead as well, because we are, of course, in the holiday season right now. This week is Christmas week, next week is New Year week, and around the world, usually people would gather around and congregate and meet with family and friends. So that, of course, would still pose a very heavy risk to Thailand and to many countries around the world. Now I'll go to the usual updates in the number and statistics that we have for you for today. Firstly, update on the Thailand Pass. Nearly the end of our second month of reopening. As of today, we have logged a total of 627,119 applicants to the Thailand Pass system. Now we have, during statistics for the 1st to the 21st of December, so from December until 1st of December until yesterday, we have, as you see on screen, a total of 182,578 travelers entering Thailand almost throughout the month of December. Now for incoming travelers, we have some numbers for there on screen. Of this number, we have 156,807 entering via the Test&GO or the quarantine exemption scheme, which of course has been paused as of last night. We have 21,646 travelers entering through the Sandbox schemes. So the provinces which are in the Sandbox scheme, like Phuket and other provinces. We have 898 travelers through the 7-day quarantine scheme, and 2,800, over 2,800 in the 10-day quarantine, and 411 through the 14-day quarantine. Of course, each with their own criteria in terms of the number of quarantine. Moving to the top 10 countries of origin coming into inbound air travelers into Thailand until yesterday, for the month of December until yesterday. We have, as you see on screen, Germany being the top, followed by the UK, Russia, USA, France, and the rest. Out of the total number of travelers coming into Thailand, only 416 tested positive for COVID-19, or that amounts to 0.23% of the total number of passengers coming in the country. Now, when I use the term only, of course, that's relative, but any positive case coming into the country or anywhere around the world is something that we have to be very vigilant about. We have to continue with our strong and rigid measures. So just one positive case is not good news. Now for vaccination progress, we'll have a slide coming up for you. Yesterday, we administered over 400,000 doses To be exact, 444,037 doses administered yesterday, increasing the accumulated number of vaccinations in Thailand to more than 100 million doses now. I think the last briefing we talked about this already. We have now more than 100.6 million doses administered in the country already. You may have seen this in the news already, that Thailand has achieved our goal to administer at least 100 million within this year, and to inoculate at least 70% of the population with their first dose before the year's end. I believe we have reached that. So as of yesterday, 21st of December, 70.4%, so that's over 70%, 70.4% of the entire population of Thailand have received their first dose, and 62% receiving their second dose already. That's in the right-hand column on the screen that you see there, on the chart that you see on screen there. In terms of the general numbers and daily new confirmed case, we have 2,532 cases reported as updated as of this morning. 2,532 recorded in new confirmed case in one day. So we have active cases at the moment now, as you see on screen, still being treated in hospitals on a decline. I believe that just a few weeks ago it was up to 70 or 80,000. So active cases now we have 38,202. We have 31 new fatalities, unfortunately. The number of Omicron cases, if you're wondering, for Thailand, the total number of Omicron cases that we have detected so far is 104. Not in one day, but totally since the very beginning, since the discovery of this variant of concern. 104 cases of Omicron in Thailand. The number of recoveries and number of new confirmed cases. Now, to put that side by side, the number of new recoveries have exceeded new confirmed cases for, I think, approximately 2 weeks already now. So we have had more new recoveries than new confirmed case each day for around almost two weeks already. New recoveries recorded today, we have 3,191 new recoveries, while new confirmed case, as I mentioned, 2,532. Hope that this downward trend will continue. So we'll have a declining number of active cases. Now, for the fatalities in particular, 31 new fatalities. Of that number, 24 fatalities are in the elderly group, which is the 60-year-old and above. And we have 4 fatalities with underlying health conditions. 20 of the fatalities today, or 65% of the fatalities today, were those who were unvaccinated. Which is why, exactly why, the Center for COVID Situation Administration continues to join with the World Health Organization, their campaign in encouraging everyone to get vaccinated as soon as possible. We have over 100 million in Thailand vaccinated. We have over 70% with their first dose and 62% with their second dose already. But they continue, of course they continue. There remains to be those who have not been vaccinated. And the task of vaccinating everyone in Thailand continues. So I'll move on to the top 10 provinces with COVID cases. In green is the numbers of the cases in provinces that have less cases than the previous day on a declining trend. And in red, of course, more than the previous day. Good to see that the capital city, the most populated city in the country, Bangkok, has a green number, which means that the new cases is declining day on day, day per day. Followed by Chonburi and Samut Prakan and the other provinces. You will notice that this is concentrated in the central and southern provinces, with some, of course, in the north and Isan region as well. Now, just one good news that I'd like to share with you, which may be of interest to the English language audience, is about the connection to the EU Digital COVID Certification System, the European Union's Digital COVID Certification System, So from time to time, we talk about international cooperation and the coordination that we have with our friends around the world on vaccines, on integrating systems, on know-how, on a lot of things. Now, with regard to international cooperation on COVID-19, particularly with the European Union and with many regions around the world, we continue to push for the mutual recognition of the digital vaccine certificates. This is, of course, to facilitate international travel when it is necessary, when there is international travel. So I'm pleased to share that the European Commission has certified the COVID-19 certificates issued in a number of countries to be equivalent to the European Union digital COVID certificate. And these countries include Thailand most recently. So, for example, Thailand, the countries of Tunisia, Uruguay, Montenegro, for example. So this means that Thailand's vaccination certificate will be connected to the EU's system and will be applicable under the same conditions as holders of the EU digital COVID certificate, which is good news for those who plan to travel when necessary to EU member countries in the future, for students who plan or have to return to study abroad, study in the European Union in the near future. And if we have any more updates on the international cooperation and these kinds of linkages, we'll let you know, because of course it is to facilitate travel for those who have been vaccinated from Thailand, in Thailand. So just in closing, I'd like to address just one question from some of you received on social media on where to take the RT-PCR test in Thailand. Of course, previously we talked about the various hospitals offering the RT-PCR test. So we have here a list compiled by the Department of Medical Science of the Ministry of Public Health. It is a list of, I think, around 470 hospitals and laboratories that are accredited for medical testing for RT-PCR. These include 170 laboratories in Bangkok and 300 in the various provincial laboratories around the country. Now, that's quite a long list. The font may be too small for you to read on screen. So you can scan the QR code shown on the top right of the screen right now to see the whole list and select the laboratory nearest to your place of residence. Of course, you can also find this on the social media pages and the website of the Ministry of Public Health. So with that note, I thank you for your attention. This is, of course, Christmas week, and next year is New Year holidays. It's supposedly getting festive, but of course, being festive with the ones you love also means that you are sharing the care and the love that you have with your family and friends. And the best way to share your care, express your care and love these days, of course, this year, of course, is to remind each other about safety, about the safety measures, about sanitation, about cleanliness, and of course, how to prevent infection from the COVID and prevent getting affected by this very dangerous variant of concern. So wherever you are in Thailand, wherever you are around the world, I wish you the very best for this week, of course, the holiday week, and the weeks and the years ahead. Hope for strong health, and we'll see you again at the next briefing this coming Friday. Thank you very much for your attention. สวัสดีครับ
ครับขอบพระคุณนะครับท่านณัฐพานุ นุปคุณนะครับรองอธิบดีกรมสารนิเทศและรองโฆษกกระทรวงการต่างประเทศนะครับ